another episode of Sunset Sessions. Sun setting behind us. We're here on the patio with Dan Rodriguez.
That's me.
So fun to meet you.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, when you rolled in, you actually said, I mean, this is my personal residence, but you're like, I fish, or I hop on the boat and I fish back here.
Yeah, I got buddies that live nearby that love to fish here on Tonka.
I love
they
that.
know all their spots.
Love
They take
that.
me there.
So great. Well, you are a musician, you're a father, certainly many more things. What else are you? Fisherman?
It depends on who you ask, I think. So I'm a singer-songwriter, and I kind of just live the life I want to live. You know, I love being outside. I love to hunt. I think my favorite hobby is hunting. But I'm a big fan of the micro hobby, and so I could start listing all of the fun little hobbies and things that I do, from like whittling spoons and tapping trees and making syrup every year, and like little things like that. But usually they consist of being outside or working with my hands to some degree.
Master of none is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like...
Ace of no trades.
Yes, exactly. So many hobbies. That's me.
A jack or like a 3 of clubs for many others.
That's like me. People are like, why do you drive a truck? Why do you need a garage? I'm like, because of way too many hobbies. Master of zero, but just too many hobbies. I love that.
I think the art of the hobby is something that's missing with like a lot of this next generation, or like the folks, even folks in our generation. I feel like the art of the hobby is something that's just really missing, and you can see it with folks that, I mean, I've done my fair share of binge watching, but if that's like one of your hobbies, I think you're missing out. I think the art of having hobbies is kind of lost a little bit these days, and finding other people that do have those. I'm like, oh, you're my people. You have hobbies. You're passionate about something, and that's cool.
Well, and there are so many benefits of having hobbies, but one of them, like that I truly enjoy, is like doing something really special that no one's ever going to see. It's like not posting it on Instagram or on social media, like doing something cool. I'm like, no one even knows that I'm into.
I did it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I think that's really special. But you actually do create things that people get to hear and listen to. What's kind of, explain your genre, explain kind of the inspiration behind your music.
I like to call it Americana singer-songwriter soul. I think because, I don't know, I feel like I don't have like one specific genre influence. Yeah. And when I say Americana, that can mean a lot of things. I think some people, I say that and they think automatically that it means like mandolins and banjos and like more folky Americana, which is awesome. But really just what that means for me is more just like organic and roots-based music. So
good music. Yeah, I'm like, so you're saying it's just good music, because there's a difference. Like, you don't have to have one genre, but like there's so many different genres that just are based off of, I mean, soul, not in the genre form, but like, meaningful music, where it's like you care about your artistry, you care about your voice, you care about making music, you care about the songwriting, you care about actually playing an instrument.
I do. I care deeply about the lyrics, and I care deeply about like the melody and how singable it is, and how connecting it may be, and so those aspects of it are the things that really matter to me a lot. So that's where I find myself today. I feel like there have been times I've leaned more into the soul side of it, and times I've leaned more into the singer-songwriter, and I feel like I'm kind of finding a good balance of those two things right now.
Well, and you're an artist, and so you get to go through phases.
I do what I want.
Right? Yeah. Hell yeah. Cheers to that.
I'm inspired. And one thing I'm realizing is I feel like any art that you create, that you decide to put out into the world, I think it's fair to say that one of the bigger challenges is acknowledging your own ego and your own voice of doubt as well at the same time, which are battling each other constantly. And so for me, I'm finding more that the more I just let go and squish down the ego side and ignore it, and which is so hard to do, But when I get to do that, and when I do that, those are the songs that connect the most with people. When I'm like just being true to myself as a songwriter or as a storyteller. And so doing that, if I can do that all the time, then I'm making art that I'm proud of. And at that point, it doesn't matter if other people like it or not. But it just so happens that those are the songs that tend to be the ones that people come up to me after a show and say, oh, this one connected with me, or this one. And I've always kind of written those types of songs, have always been a little more of that rootsy based Americana vibe. And I shied away from it for a while because I wanted to be flashier than that. I wanted to sing the melodies that were not everybody could sing, or do things like that. And I still have those moments in my songs or shows. But I think for me right now, I find myself in a place where I go, well, it's not about making music that I think other people are going to like. I'm just making something that I want to make.
That you like.
And
yeah.
And this I'm working on a record now, and I have been for most of COVID, and I have this clear direction now for what I want to do and how I want to say it, what I want to say and how I want to say it. And so the next several months are going to be really fun and really cool because we're starting to release music in January. And so I have all these new songs and the different things I want to say, and I'm excited about it.
I love that you brought up doubt, because that was something I was actually going to ask you. Because I feel like as an artist or someone in the arts in whatever form, you often doubt yourself, or I do, at least. I doubt my path. I doubt, am I doing the right thing? And whatever the right thing means, right? Like when I get down to it, it's like, I know I'm doing the right thing for me, but then there are all these other factors coming into play. So one of the questions I was going to ask is like, how do you deal with that? And was there like a turning point for you when you're like, okay, I need to quit thinking about making the music that I think I should make versus just making stuff that I want? Was there like a moment that changed that for you?
I think it was a series of multiple moments. And I think it's something I still battle with regularly, and it's
human.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I'm even just tinkering last night. I had some time by myself, and kids were in bed, and I was just playing around with an idea, and I was thinking about how this chorus could work in a live setting, and how I could get those folks to sing along if I sang it this way, or if I wrote it this way, then it'd be easier for them to sing it back to me. And in that moment, I was thinking, that's part of the craft. I mean, I think it's an important thing to think about. If you're thinking, if I'm going to play this live,
right, and
people are going to be a part of it, and I want this to be an experience, I want to write it a certain way to make it be that way. But then I got about halfway through the night, or through the song, and I just set it down, and I said, I'm going to revisit this tomorrow, because I had that little voice of doubt.
You're thinking too hard.
I started overanalyzing it, and then I was thinking, okay, am I just doing this to have a song that has this vibe for this live moment, and is that a bad thing?
Right. Or
am I really actually wanting to say something important and valuable? And I categorize music into two categories. It really can be in any genre, but I feel like any artist, I can categorize it into two categories and just break it down at its most like basic. And that is music that moves you or music to move to. And it's like, it either gets your toes tapping and your head bopping, and it doesn't have to be like an upbeat tune for it to be music to move to.
Yep.
It can be beautiful and slow and ballady, and it makes you kind of sway. It's just music but then there's music that moves you, that you hear the lyrics and the melody together and the way that the songwriter says, or the performer says what they're saying, and it really connects with you. And that's the kind of music that can move you, and I like to try to have both, and have both of those things in my wheelhouse and in a show, and create moments and those types of things. But yeah, the voice of doubt's always there. It's never going away, and I think it's an important factor.
Yeah.
It's living with that. That's my co-songwriter, really, in every session, whether I'm with other actual writers or not, or writing a song alone. That little voice of doubt it's an important piece, but sometimes you have to tell it to shut up.
Right. It keeps you in check, though, right?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I agree. On that note, you have had a number of songs in some pretty like prominent ads. So whether it's like Miller Lite or Budweiser, I find that
Budweiser,
interesting.
yeah.
You're dabbling.
Like, I don't play favorites.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, hey.
I will take anybody's
it up.
money if they're willing to give it to me to put my song in their ad.
So, okay, so that.
But I do, you know, like, those are really great. They were great ads that I'm
Yeah.
so honored that my songs got to be a part of it, you know? That's so cool.
So at that time when you were making that music, were you like, because I'm just like, you know, I'm reading through your bio, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of like good songs and in ads, or like, you know, in pretty prominent ads. Are you writing music that you think would be good in advertisements? And you got to be honest.
I did.
You did.
I did
Yeah.
for a long time.
Okay.
And I chased after it, and I had some success in it. And it was the fall of 2019. That, if you're asking, going back to your what was your moment? Mm-hmm. I played a very not well-known, small, tiny festival, a songwriter festival in Chicago. It was at Space in Evanston, where I just played a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
But I got to play a thing called TFDI, and I don't know if this is supposed to be rated
Say it.
like PG or PG-13, but it stands for totally effing doing it. But there were just some friends that put some things together, and there's all these songwriters, and it was a lot of folks that I was the youngest songwriter there, and not by very much, but about 10 years for most everybody, and everybody kind of had the same. They carried themselves in a way that, and they presented themselves in their shows and their songs in a way that was so true to just themselves, each individual. And it was something that really resonated with me because, you know, as a new songwriter in that circle and being a support act for larger acts several times that I've done over my career, it's like I want to win those fans over so they can come to my next headlining show in town here. And so I have to present myself, or I want to present myself in a way that's going to make them come, you know, be a part of this. And so, like, thinking about all those things, I've done the music writing for ads and things as well for so long. I think this music supervisor is going to like this. And so I decided after that festival, after being inspired by all those writers, I'm not doing it anymore. And so I'm only going to make music that I love.
For yourself, not for
myself,
other
yeah.
people.
I'm only going to make music that I love. And I can be smart about it when I write, and be smart about how I structure something or how I say something. If I want to be really specific, I just do it.
Yeah.
And then I have other songs that I've thought, you know, this could work in an ad. So if I tweak these few little words or these few things, I could be smart about it. But overall, my statements or things that I'm saying, I'm just writing what I want to write at this point. And it feels really good.
I'm sure it does. And that's, I mean, I'm not a musician, so I don't know, but like anything, there's a ton of competition, and I'm sure it's, you know, you're not making billions of dollars, and so you got to make money, right? And you have to be smart. And so if you're good at writing music, I'm sure it's really easy to go like, I'm going to make something that I know Budweiser is going to freaking scoop up, and I'm going to get a little chunk of change. But I think it takes a lot of courage to be like, I need to make some music for myself because I need that, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a weird catch-22 because if you make the music that works for ads and you have success in that,
then you get to make
you can make the money
for...
so that you can have the time to do the music you want to do.
Right.
But how much more beautiful is it if you are able to do both, you know? And so it's good. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I've had success with songs that weren't just for that, you know? I had a song called You Feel Like Home, and that was a song I wrote kind of for, you know, it was on a record called 25 Years. It's very much a lovely record, and it's just focused on my 25 years I wrote for my wife, and You Feel Like Home is also right up in that world, and you know, that was on my 25 Years record, and it was it's playing right now. It's in an Explore Minnesota campaign, and it just got on the show Good Girls for their season finale or the series finale, and so it's cool. It's like I wrote that was a song, you know, that's just on one of my records, and I wasn't writing it and putting it out over there and
for
doing
that
those
reason.
things.
Yeah,
Right.
it's in
And I wrote it with another Minnesotan songwriter, my friend Sue, and she's so great. And so just being in a place where I can just kind of write my own music and do what I want to write, and
have the freedom
and
to
then
do that.
they end up some of those songs get picked up, and that's pretty great too.
Right. Where do you record?
Now I've done Nashville and I've done studios in town here, but this next record I'm doing on my own. I have my own studio, and I'm a producer, and I cut records for other people, and my songs that I've recorded have been in bigger ads, and that gave me the confidence to go, okay,
I can do this.
I think this is up to par. I could do that, but that talk about a voice of doubt. I mean, it's a whole other venture. It's a whole other world going into. It's a different thing to be the songwriter and singing it and then recording it. I mean, that's a whole other person's job, and so I get to do that when diving into that. I'm just interested. It became a hobby, and it became something I nerded out about, and I'm finding out right now that I'm several years into it, and I'm still just scratching the surface on it all.
So you had doubts when you started when you started producing or literally recording your own music instead of recording at someone else's studio? Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I think it would be the opposite. I'm in my environment. I know there's a lot of technical and a million things that you need to know how to do, but I feel like just being in your own environment, not in front of anyone else, you don't have to live up to anyone else's standards. I feel like that would be more comfortable.
Right.
But you're saying there's more pressure because no one else is
no one else. I have nobody. Sure nobody else is a safety net.
Right.
Because I could present it and go, this sounds great, and there is a euphoria that goes along with doing something completely on your own, and you think it sounds good. And you go back and listen to that later and go, that didn't sound good at all. Why did I think that sounded great? Because you're just not hearing it with a critical ear.
Sure.
And so that was one of my bigger fears. But I feel really good about where things are at. And there's a songwriter named Dan Wilson, and he lives out in LA, and he spent some time here in Minnesota, and real famous songwriter. He's written with everyone, and he, like Adele, people like that.
Just people like that, yeah. Names. Okay.
And he's one of my favorite encouragers, and I follow him on Instagram. We haven't met. We've played the same songwriter festivals and things, and we have some of the same friends.
It's only a matter of time.
We've never met. I know. I don't want to force it.
Yeah.
And if it'll happen, if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. But he puts out these little Instagram videos, and he says things like, if you think it sounds good, it sounds good.
Don't think it.
If you like it, then it's good.
Right.
And that's it. And that whole video says things like, I'm like, I needed that today. Thank you.
Right. Right.
And so I think it sounds good what I'm doing. And so it is good. And I feel good about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What does it look like right now being touring? You're on tour.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of the.
You're your eyes. Yeah, I am. Hell yeah, I am.
It's weird right now. I don't know if you're aware or know about this, but there's been a pandemic for a while now, and it's
just
put a small damper on
this deck. I don't leave.
When your entire industry is focused on trying to get as many people crammed into a space as you can, and this happens, it's been wild. It has been crazy, but we pulled through, and we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel of this whole thing, and. I'm on the tour right now, fall of 2021, that I was supposed to do in April 2020.
Okay.
And so...
year and a half.
It's truncated, delayed, it's different, and attendance it's hit or miss, depending on where you are, and so it's interesting all around.
Right.
But what I'm finding is that there are people are so generous. And people want to support art, and people want to be at the shows. And as much as I need to go out and play shows for my heart, and also for my, to pay my bills, I'm finding that people tell me that they needed to be there too. And I never wanted
crotch rocket alert.
I never wanted to I never wanted to feel transactional, because it's so much more important playing a show and bringing people together from all walks of life and different political views, especially today when like everybody's so divided in every area of life. And so to be able to get in a room with people from all different walks of life and all different ideas, political or spiritual ideas, and we come together for something more important than those things, and we set all the news aside for 90 minutes, and we just come together and unite together over something that's so much more important and bigger than we are. Oh, that's so great to be a part of. And so to harbor that and to be able to be a facilitator of that is so huge. And I find that to be more satisfying than any other aspect is when I get to go share those songs and then somebody tells me that they connected with it because of one reason or another. And I forget what the original question was, but that's
what does touring look like right now?
So touring, oh, that's right. So it's been the most across the board. Ticket sales have been lower than they historically have been, but the people that are at the shows are so grateful for it, and I'm so grateful to play for them, and I'm so grateful that the people that aren't there are feeling safe and doing what they need to do for themselves and for the variety of reasons that they may not be there. And I hope to see them soon.
Well, I think that's one thing that the pandemic taught a lot of people. I mean, whether they knew it or not, but I've heard so many people go, I need live music. Like, I need that. And I don't think that's wrong to say. It's like, yeah, we need food, water, shelter to like stay alive, but what's just staying alive? Like, people want to live, you know, they want to feel. And that's one of those things that makes a lot of people feel. Yeah. And I think it's really fascinating, you know, photographer here, Troy included, I think he's one of them who's like, I just want to see a live show. Like last year, you know, when we were working through the pandemic, he's like, I just want to go see live music. And I've heard it from so many people, myself included. And so it really is important. And it's got to be kind of special to see that and hear that from people like, oh, good, like you care about it as much as I do. And it feeds my soul, but knowing that it feeds your soul too. Pretty neat.
And it's just, it's so important. And, you know, they say like during a recession or a depression, that there are two things that people tend to gravitate towards and they still spend their little bit of money on, and it's booze and entertainment. And that it can be chalked up as vices or escapes. Yeah. But the entertainment factor is one thing, but specifically when you go see music that you connect with, it's a spiritual experience. It's a totally different thing. It's not just sitting in front of a television or you know watching or something, or watching a movie or something like. It's a different experience. And when you do it live with other people in the room, there's an energy exchange that happens that just doesn't exist anywhere else. Right. It just doesn't. Right. And we were, so many songwriters like myself were doing Facebook Live things, and I branded my Facebook Live series called the Quarantine Sessions. Yes. And I wrote a new song for each one, and I presented it, you know, at some point during the hour that I played. But I thought those were going to be so empty, and it was to some degree, you know. So I play a show, and there's people that I get to talk to afterwards. I'm a stand at the merch table guy. I don't want to like go hide away. And after a show, I want to talk to people. And so I go out and I talk with folks, and I hear the stories, and I connect with them, and I love that. And that energy is great. And then if I'm with a band especially, or if there's other folks there, sometimes there's drinks after the show, and it just keeps going. The energy of the show and the momentum of that moves it forward. And playing in my studio alone and not seeing faces except for my own, you know, the image of myself playing on the screen, and then hitting end stream and having it just be like quiet and I'm alone. It was exhausting. Yeah. And at first I thought, and it was exhausting because I got no energy back from it, because I was thinking, did I connect with anybody? What is happening? And like, what's the point in this? Did anybody really care? Was this just background music in somebody's day and they just kind of tuned in? But two things happened. One, I had put my Venmo up because my touring was gone, and we didn't, at the very beginning, we were all locked down, and I was like, oh no, I don't know how we're going to pay bills.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? And so I threw that up as an option, as a way. And two things happened. One, I was absolutely floored and blown away by the support that came in from that.
Cool.
It was those first several online shows that I did bought us a couple of months of time to be able to kind of figure out what to do and pivot and learn how to change and shift for this new world we were living in. And the other thing that happened was the number of messages and emails I've received from people who have watched those, and conversations I've had now that I'm able to go on tour with people who have said, thank you so much for doing those. You
I was
got
there,
us through
yeah,
some
and you
dark
may not
times.
have
Yeah.
known.
So it was unbelievable to know how many people really connected with it and watched it and were a part of it. And it was so cool. And so that all of that said, that exchange at a live show there's nothing like that, but it can happen in other ways too, and I'm learning that, and I've learned that through this pandemic.
Well, and at the beginning of your, what you just said was, music's not transactional, but really what you're saying is it is a transaction of energy, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. You are getting something from the crowd, and they are getting something from you, and that is something that is there when you're doing it virtually, but not, through a very tight filter.
Sure, yeah.
You're getting it in small doses, but it really is so transactional, and I think that's something that we have learned through this whole thing, like I said, is that people really need that energy exchange. They need that transaction just to live, whether it's music or other things. They need that connection and the art. You are so much more than music, though. You're a father.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you balance music with family? Because again, if you are someone with a conscience, you are thinking about, okay, what's good for me, what's going to feed my soul, but then you're always, of course, thinking about your family.
Right.
So how do you balance that? Like, are you away for long, extended periods of time?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote a song about it called Daddy Through the Phone, and it's a constant struggle, and it's a constant balance to try to find. And I'm so lucky. My wife is amazing, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and she's homeschooling our little boys, and she's amazing at it. But I'm so lucky that we're able to do the things that we want to do for our family, and also be able to do the things that I need to do to keep the career going and do all those things. And so that's been amazing. And so I have that support system, and she's a single mom when she's home alone, and I'm on tour, and she does all the things, and she doesn't just do enough to get by. I mean, she volunteers for things, and she's in charge of a whole nature school group of mamas who are bringing their kids out into the woods and
Cool.
and teaching them, and she puts curriculums together and does all this. I could talk all night about all the things that she does that she stays busy with, and she somehow finds a way to balance all those things. But we prioritize family, and one of the nice things about like my oldest is 5 and my youngest is 2. And I have 2 boys, Oak and Alder, and Oak started kindergarten this year, but I came home from tour, and I got home on a Monday, and on Tuesday we spent time together as a family, and we're able to just kind of shift and change. And if he was in school in a public school somewhere, and that's a great setting for so many people, but for us it's like we're able to just kind of say, nope, we can make our own schedule this week,
right.
and shift things over. Daddy's home, let's go do something as a family and spend time together. And we wouldn't be able to do that or have that freedom. They wouldn't be able to just drop things and come with me on the road to somewhere cool that we can go together as a family, or, hey, I'm playing in Florida in January, let's go.
Right. Right.
Things like that. We wouldn't be able to do those types of things without doing it the way we've chosen to do it. And so that balance is so important to find and so hard to manage. But when we do, I think we've been finding it so much better lately, and especially with the pandemic, I got to be home so much. I think it would have been easy to just continue on this grind of saying, I'm just gone all the time. I think 2019 it was 138 shows out of town. So, and that's just shows. That's not all travel days.
Right.
So I was gone half the year.
Yeah.
And so it is a balance. You got to find it.
Yeah.
But I think the pandemic, what it made me realize was how much more I wanted to be home. And so we're even shifting how we tour. Let's do longer stretches out, but then longer stretches at home where there's nothing on the calendar. And so doing more of that has been really good.
Well, and kind of one of the reasons that I asked is because, you know, as someone that's gone, and like I said, you're trying to be the best father that you can, I'm sure there's some guilt that comes with that, but you're feeding your soul too. So the time you are with them, you're a fulfilled version of yourself, right?
Sure. I think with who I am, I think I can find fulfillment
in many different things,
in a lot of different ways, and as long as I'm with them, you know. But I think it's more about, for me at least, my fear is that my kids will resent me for being gone all the time. I don't believe that's what will happen because of how we are when we are all together at home.
Yeah.
You know, I think if I was maybe a bad dad, and I think sometimes I am, but
you just even saying that means that you're not, because awareness, let me tell you, like awareness of even like being conscious of like, am I being a bad dad? Like I want to be the best. That's 90% of it.
Sure, but I think for me too, it's like that my fear is that they might resent me, but my hope is that they will have the model of somebody saying, this is my dream, I'm going to find a way to pursue this, and I'm going to follow my heart and have the courage to do that. And if I can show them how to do that and demonstrate that, then I feel like I'm giving them a really important tool and a really important gift.
Yeah.
And they can maybe be inspired to follow their heart and follow their dreams and do those things no matter what those things are. And so that's my hope in it. And I think if I'm being authentically myself in all of it, and at the same time not trying to be selfish all the time, then I think that we might be able to accomplish that.
Totally.
I think it'd be good.
What are they into?
Poop. That's the word that's said all day, every day at my house. They're 5 and 2, and they're boys.
Yeah.
So
right.
everything is poopy something.
Right. Nice.
They love music. They do love music.
That's cool.
And they both have little guitars, and my oldest writes his own songs. And
no way.
He's so great, and he's so wonderful.
Wow.
They're both so wonderful. But yeah, he does all those things, and he performs them. And
cool.
My oldest was on stage. He's been on stage with me so many times, and it doesn't matter how big or small the crowd is. He's been on stage with me in front of 100 people and doesn't think about it. We play music like we do in the living room. And he's been on stage with me in front of 7,000 people when we opened for OAR at Summerfest in Milwaukee a few years back before the pandemic. And it was like just him. It was the same as we were in the living room.
Yeah.
And it's just on stage with Daddy, but we're just playing music and hanging out. And so he is into those things. He's into the music stuff, which is really great. I don't ever want to force it.
Right. Of course.
I kind of do a little reverse psychology a little bit with him. Can I play the drums? He'll be at my studio. Can I play drums, Daddy? You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, please be my drummer someday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
I can do the Jeff Tweedy thing, It'd be great. But no, whatever they want to do, they can do. I told them you probably shouldn't play football, but mostly because I don't really know anything about it.
So that's not reverse psychology. That's like real.
Other than kids get hurt a lot. No,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What did you listen to growing up? What kind of music?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I'm, as an adult, discovering the music I should have listened to
Okay.
When I was first growing up, I grew up in Michigan, and my folks are wonderful people. They live here now, and we all live a little bit of a different life than we did back then. But I grew up in a pretty separatist, evangelical home, and we weren't allowed to listen to music.
Exposed to...
Yeah, we were only allowed to listen to music that was like Jesus music or church music. And there's some good stuff in there, but it's also like, I wasn't listening to the things...
It's also very small.
I wasn't listening to the things that shaped my songwriting peers now. And so I'm now, right, as an adult, going back and listening to stuff that I should have listened to, over the last several years now, the last couple decades, as things have changed. I'm 35 now, so I hit my teens, and then I started exploring other music.
Yeah.
And somebody gave me they burned a CD for me, and I had a Walkman, and they gave me a CD and said, there's a bunch of stuff on here. Let me know what you like, and I'll make more of that for you.
Was this like secret?
It was,
at
yeah,
the
it was
bus
a secret.
stop,
It was like
CD.
It was like, yeah, and we were homeschooled, but it was like somebody from our church. It was like, you need to be listening. It was actually our pastor's son, and
Nice.
Yeah, he was like,
Classic.
dude, you need to listen. And it was,
yeah.
and it was
He's like, I get it.
and it was like
Listen to
David
this.
Bowie and AC/DC and Jeff Buckley and like a whole wide range of things, and so that's when I started learning about good music.
That's fascinating because it sounds like you've just continued to you had that natural passion for it, but you've had it even before discovering all this cool stuff. And
yeah, we were a musical family. Like, we were homeschooled, and we all had to play an instrument. And so I did violin for a while, and
Sick.
then
I wish I had to play an instrument. I got no instruments. I'm like, I
was
wish.
great. And people, my brother's in my band, my older brother, and he's
Dope.
I mean, he's the best musician I know, and he's just, the fact that I get to play with him is amazing.
Yeah.
But
And you've been playing together forever, so it's like that
Forever.
automatic chemistry.
I just posted about it on my Instagram. It's probably still in my story, but there's a picture of me playing violin. And
Oh no, I did. You're been playing together forever. Yeah, you two. Yeah,
I just
as little
posted it
kids.
because
I
saw
it.
that photo, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've been making music
30
so
years, I
long.
think you
Yeah,
said, right?
30
Yeah,
years.
not to date you, but
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah, I'm 35 now. I'm getting there. I'm getting up there.
I love
It's
it.
good. It's a good thing. I like it. I've always thought that. I've always wanted to be. When I was young, I always wanted to be 30, because I knew that when you're in your 20s, you still don't really know anything,
Yeah.
and everybody thinks they know something. They know everything in their
Yeah.
20s, and I realized at one point, I was like, I can't wait till I'm 30, because you can be 30 and an absolute moron, but people will still listen to you because you're 30 and you've had some life experience. And so at that point, I was the third of 6 children, and I always wanted to be hanging out with my older brother and sister
course.
and their friends.
Same.
And so I think I've always just kind of had this desire to be a little
Sure.
older than I was,
Yeah.
And but realizing that, and so when I hit 30, I was so proud and so excited, and I feel like a lot of people hit 30 and oh, I can't believe I'm 30. I'm like, I finally made it.
Well,
People will listen to me.
Right.
I could be an idiot and they'll still listen.
It is an accomplishment. I'm always like, we get a year older and people complaining they're embarrassed of their age. I'm like, well, you didn't choose when to be born, so that's the only thing none of us can change is
Right.
when we were born. But you did it.
We're here.
You got another year out of it. Good for you. I'm stoked to get another year older. I'm like, wow, I tricked the universe, man. I did something right, but that's pretty amazing. What do you listen to now that inspires you? Besides, obviously, your music inspires you, but what else?
That's a great question. I feel like I've been diving a lot more into the songwriters, and so we lost John Prine to COVID, and I didn't listen to his stuff growing up, and I didn't really know about it. And then there came a time in my music experiences and learning all those things where I heard his stuff, but I was listening to it not as really a songwriter, but somebody wanted just to enjoy the music, and I didn't connect with it right away. And then more lately, or in the last five years or so, that's when I started really diving into songwriters like John Prine and Bob Dylan and Brandy Carlisle and folks like that, where I go, oh, And I think there's just so much wisdom in those songs too that I didn't understand when I was younger. Now I'm over 30 and I understand.
Right.
But and especially having a family and just experiencing so many different aspects of life, the good and the bad things. I think I'm gravitating more now to those types of songwriters. Those are the kind of things that I just tend to go and listen to now, because that's what speaks to me right now.
Well, John Prine's kind of, someone like that. It's interesting. If you just listen to one of his songs, you might think some of them are sarcastic, but you might just be like, oh, that's just a silly song. And then you realize, like, no, like that's...
Oh, that's a commentary on humanity.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, that's silly. And then you're like, no, that's actually real and so relatable. And he's singing it the exact way he wants to sing it. He doesn't give two shits what anyone else thinks. And that's when you can relate to someone. When you're like, oh, yeah. Yep, he's just doing exactly what he wants to do and saying what he wants to say.
Yeah, and then I'm inspired by that as a writer to do the same for myself.
Right.
So that's always good.
As a musician, if you were getting paid the same amount of money, would you rather play a sold-out arena, or a stadium rather, let's say 60,000 people, or play a small venue like the Belly Up or something, like 500 people? And there's no right or wrong answer. Like you don't have to be cool.
I've never played for 60,000 people, so if I had to choose right now, I would do it just because I want to experience that.
Yeah.
But there's something special about the intimate shows, the ones where you can really hear a pin drop if you want. When you're in the middle of that moment in that song and you're really connected. There's something special about that, and there's something special about the big shows where you have thousands of folks there, and I've had the opportunity to play those too, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I think it's two different things, and I want to find the balance and I want to have both of those things. Yeah.
Right.
I think I'd be sad if I only did I have some friends who have been in very, very famous bands who they only play for those 20,000 plus stadium experiences or outdoor amphitheater things, and that's because they can't play a show for only a few people anymore, and it just doesn't make sense. And so I've been side stage for those shows and seen those friends do those things, and I've watched it and I've thought, wow, how amazing would that be? But I think I would be sad if I only had that.
If you couldn't play the small, intimate...
The small ones where I could pop out and talk to folks at the merch table and it wouldn't be weird,
Right.
I could just be myself. And
be bombarded,
Yeah. So...
That's cool. If you could go back, what would you, if anything, now that you're past 30 and so wise.
I'm so wise.
and know everything, a lot of things. If you could go back, is there something that you would do differently?
I mean, it's hard because every moment that we've had in our lives has led us to this moment we're having right now. So it's like, if I change something, we might not be here having this conversation, right?
Totally.
Obviously, we don't. That's not the basis of your question. But if I could give myself a piece of advice, as a younger, like to give my younger self a piece of advice, I know I probably wouldn't have listened. I wouldn't have listened to me.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Like, listen, this is important. Like, yeah.
I roll stubborn.
I'm gonna figure it out myself, but okay, go on.
Yep.
That would have been me for sure.
I can't relate. Yeah.
But I think I would have said, you think you're working hard right now, but you're not. What you're doing right now is you're half-assing it.
Capable of more.
Yeah.
Like,
and it wasn't
know.
until I became a father and career stuff really started shifting and moving forward, where I realized the amount of work that I was not putting in. And I'm doing those things now. And I wish I would have done this amount of work 10 years ago, because I think I'd be further along. But I'm grateful for where I'm at. So
yeah.
I know I'm not sitting here kicking myself or mad about it, but for the sake of answering the question, that's probably what I would say.
Well, and regrets.
Work harder.
Right. I mean, regrets obviously will get you nowhere, but it's like you made all the decisions that you thought were right at the time, and that's what led you to this moment. And had you worked harder, you might have burnt yourself out. There's so many things that could have gone wrong. But it's always good to know, for anyone out there who maybe trying to do the same thing you're doing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
The number one. I know, it's always interesting when people are like, you know, what's your advice? How do I want to do what you do? I'm like, go work your ass off.
Yeah.
Like, do things you don't want to do because, or, you know, work past when you're tired. Like, it's going to suck. And is that what you want to hear?
I would also very much say, make sure you rest, you know, like, because, there was also a season where I realized I wasn't working as hard as I needed to, or I got overwhelmed with the amount of things in order to keep up and maintain what I needed to do or wanted to do. And I've burned myself out, and I've done those things, and so that by no means should we all ever do just work.
Right.
We were talking about living earlier. It's like, yeah, if you're only working and doing those things and you don't stop and you don't rest and you don't look back, especially if it's something in the creative world, whatever realm that is, that you're building and creating, and it's something that especially if it's a career, it's like you can look back at those things, and you need to take the time and be proud and celebrate where you've come, and look back and go, okay, this is a milestone, instead of just always going, okay, next. Goal accomplished, what's next? Like, stop, celebrate it. Yeah, this is exciting. Yeah, and I like to celebrate with high-end whiskey. If something goes really well, I'll go get a glass of high-end whiskey, and I like to celebrate.
That's why I drink a lot of champagne. I'm like, I can find anything to celebrate. Like bubbles. It's funny that, you know, it's just, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because even before you showed up tonight, me and Troy, the photographer, he's like, you know, we're always talking about what's next and what are we shooting next and what's the next steps. And he's like, I need to just, like, for a minute, just think about, okay, where am I? Oh yeah, this is good. Life is good. Yeah. Like, we're here. Celebrate where you were at.
Look at where we are.
Exactly.
This is worth celebrating.
Exactly. Instead of thinking about, you know, what's bigger, better, how you can do more, how you can grow your career. It's like, I'm sure your 25-year-old self would be pretty stoked at where you are now, and that's something
actually,
to keep in mind.
Honestly, I wish I could change my answer. I'm changing my answer. If I could go back,
change it,
and tell my 25-year-old self something, I would say, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be amazing, actually.
And like enjoy the enjoy the ride.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Slow down.
That's cool.
Slow down to enjoy it. Work hard. You're not working as hard as you could when you are working, but enjoy it, because it's pretty awesome. And you only get to do it one time.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no end. There's no end. So you might as well enjoy the whole journey there. So you're on tour. Where are you going to next? So
I did the East Coast and Midwest leg of the tour. So I got to go all the way up to Boston and New York, and then all the way south to. We're doing Florida and that stuff. In the middle of winter. St. Augustine? There's like a cool St. Augustine amphitheater. It's like this outdoor. No, but I've played at the original Cafe 11 in St. Augustine. That little spot. Last time I played there, it was like a Thursday, and the next day G Love and Special Sauce were playing there. Yeah, there you go. And I met him. You made it. Garrett, I think his name is G from G Love. I met him in an airport at the Delta Sky Club. Sure. And I was like, you look cool. He had a guitar. We were in the same thing. We both had denim and hats and guitars. Yeah. Like, we like whiskey. And he's like, I was like, what's your project called? And he's like, it's called G Love. I was like, you're G Love? yeah, hold on. Are you G? Mr. Love? You're the dude? Is that you? So he's like, yeah, the other guy's the Special Sauce. It's super nice dude. But anyway, I don't know why I went on that tangent, but St. Augustine, Cafe 11, original Cafe 11. So I haven't played the outside there. No, when I play that market, I've been playing. There's a little listening room in Jacksonville called the Blue Jay Listening Room. Cool. And it's so great. That's awesome. I love it there. That's one of my favorite rooms in the whole country. It's small, but it's really great. Okay, so what is your favorite place to play? Oh, that's a hard question. I know, it's impossible. That's a hard question to answer. One of your favorites. You don't have to. You know, there doesn't have to be a top. There's no way. When I play, there's a festival I've been playing for several years called Mile of Music in Appleton, Wisconsin. And when I first started playing there, 7 years ago, they had so many artists there, and I was just a dude in a loud bar playing in the corner with my acoustic guitar, trying to sing my songs over everybody talking, and it started to grow, and
the crowd got quieter and quieter.
They were
listening
and bigger.
to you. Yeah.
And there is no place in the whole wide world that I go that I feel like more of a rock star than I do when I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. I feels like I'm going and playing at home.
Sure.
And it's like I feel like I'm playing to my hometown crowd, and they say that to me. If I get out of the car, I've gotten out of the car.
They're like, you're one of us.
Pull into Appleton,
you're ours.
and I open the door on the sidewalk, and I hear, "Welcome home, Dan." And it literally, if we go out, the band goes out after the show, and we go out for a drink. Like, we rarely pay for drinks.
Sure.
People are so sweet, and it just feels like I get to be a part of this awesome community, and they've kind of pulled me in and done
That's
this,
so
and
cool.
the radio station there plays my songs, and that's my favorite place to play is in Appleton.
It's gonna say, "Welcome to Appleton, home of Dan Rodriguez." That's what you're gonna be on the sign. Like, it's
home
really
of
not, but
it's home to a lot more influential people than myself. So I'd be low on the priority list of names to put there. However, there was a photographer, he's an incredible photographer in Appleton, and he got to put this big totem with a bunch of his photos right in the middle of downtown, and my face was right there for a whole year. It was like
Nice.
in that display,
Yeah.
and it was me playing in one of the shows there, and so it does kind of have that kind of hometown feel when I go there, so that's cool. Now all I got to do is figure out how to make it feel like that in every city that I play.
right,
That's the hope.
right.
So
Hard to duplicate though.
and there's no place like that.
Right.
There's something special. There's some magic there. I like it.
And if every city felt like that, then it wouldn't be as special, right? Like,
Well,
it's
maybe.
cool.
They can find their own ways to do it. But it's been, one thing I've found is it's been, every year it grows. Even during a pandemic, it's grown.
That's
So
pretty cool.
it's been really, really great. And I'm so lucky that I get to do this. And
So what are the next steps? Like, what's happening next in your world?
when does this air? When are you gonna put it out? Do you know?
A couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now.
All right.
So something's gonna happen before this comes out. Something special.
No, after, but
Okay.
I haven't. I'm not making that announcement till later. But
Oh.
um,
Yeah. No, it'll
there-
be. It'll be.
I don't
at
know
least,
I don't know if we're
at
editing
least
this.
3
If we
weeks.
don't edit this, then secrets are coming.
Tell me well, you can let me know later.
I'll let
the
you know
day.
later on.
Yeah.
But I've got new songs.
Okay.
And I'm starting releasing them in January.
Awesome.
And I'm going to do an EP. It's funny
Appleton goes wild.
Come on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do an EP. I'm going to a double EP. And it's the Troubadour Family Man record.
Cool.
And so it's everything we've been talking about. It's
Yeah.
finding that balance. And so half the songs are five of the songs are my like family songs. You know, that's where I had Daddy Through the Phone. I wrote a song called This Old House about the house that we sold in Northeast Minneapolis and how the life that we've created there and left that memory behind and it's the song Troubadour Family Man and those are the tunes that are focused more on the family side of who I am, and
Yeah.
then the Troubadour side is more of like the songwriter songs that you know, they're not necessarily all my story, but I'm telling somebody else's story
Yeah.
that I've observed in their life, or it's, you know, just different things that are not related to the family side of it, or drinking songs or fun songs, things like that.
Yep.
So I get to live both of those lives every day in
Oh,
my
great.
life, and
Yeah.
so putting them together in one album as a double EP is so cool to me, and that's that statement I want to say. Like, I get to be both of these people. This is who I am, and as a songwriter, if I'm being true to myself and just writing about the things I observe or my own life and my own experiences and my own perspective on those things, then this is what I'm experiencing now. You know,
Yeah.
I get to be the dude that goes out, and when I play shows and I show up and people go, "Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for being here," and I, you know, what can I get for you? And,
Yeah.
and I feel so respected, and I feel like a rock star when I'm in places like Appleton, you know, and I go places like that, and I get to live that whole life, and I get to be the dude that wears a lot of denim on stage and playing guitars and ripping guitar solos and feeling cool. But I'm also, at the same time, I go home and I'm scraping poop off of the leg, and
Yep.
you know, doing
Keeps
the
you
dishes.
humble though. I love that.
I love it too. I get to be both.
Not
of those
like the
things.
scraping poop per se, but
You
like
know
I
what?
love that you have to do that.
I just did it. I just yesterday I scraped some poop, And then you have to you can't be like, this is horrible. You have to be like, it's okay. We don't do this.
Enjoy fatherhood.
This is why we asked you if you had to go. Okay, we got.
Yeah.
But you can't like scar your kid and go like, whoa, gross. This is so horrible.
Right.
Can't do this.
Play tough.
Yeah, it's a balance.
I love that. Well, I love just how much your eyes light up when you talk about music. It's evident that it's soul driven and it's really who you are. I mean, like you said, you're living both lives, and both of them are very real, and both of them are very meaningful. So that's really exciting, really cool. Where can we find you on social media? It's not danrodriguez.com because someone else owns that.
No, that's a magician.
The magician owns that, right? Few Dan Rodriguez.
But you can hire him for your kid's birthday party. It'll be great. No, I don't. I actually don't know much about that Dan Rodriguez. I'm sure he's a great dude. But my website is danrodriguezmusic.com. I have been told by my team that I need to have a TikTok. I don't have. I'm not active on it. I got an account.
Same.
I have it. I locked in the name, but
same.
But I don't have. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I haven't done any posts, and I may never. I've been told I have to. But I'm good about posting things on my Instagram. If I could do no social media for the rest of my life, I think I would choose to do that. But
God bless.
But it's a
necessary.
But I also connect with people, and
right.
Somebody sent me a message, and they said just today I got this message. I played in Chicago last week, and they said my mother passed away the day before your show, and I had tickets to your show, and I wasn't gonna go, and obviously my mother passed away, and it was within 24 hours, and but the last minute my wife and I decided we were gonna go, and it was exactly what I needed. And when you first started singing your first song, Come On Home, I was filled with emotion, and I felt my mother whisper to me, I'm okay, I'm with Dad, go home, be with your family, like those things. And it was like,
I have chills. That's
right?
so,
and it
yeah.
was, and so like, without social media, I wouldn't have heard that story.
Yeah.
I took a screenshot, I sent it to my wife, and like, I was blown away by it.
Yeah.
And so, but that's what I'm talking about with those live music and connections and those things. And you can have that through social media. You just gotta, I have to be really better. I have to be really better. I have to be really careful and a lot better about not scrolling. And
right.
Just doing that.
Right.
But
just using it for the meaningful, positive things.
Yeah,
versus...
and connecting with folks that I want to connect with, and then turning it off and going outside.
Right. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I certainly need to come to a show.
Yeah, you do. Oh, and if this is airing soon, we'll be announcing a Christmas show. My wife and I are doing a Merry Evening with Dan and Megan Rodriguez, and it'll be in Minneapolis at the Parkway Theater in December. And you can get tickets. Will be live real soon.
Okay.
And we'll be doing all that.
I can get down with that.
We'll be announcing that soon. And if we have that announced by the time this airs, maybe we'll put like a graphic up or a link somewhere.
Sure.
And
yeah, we can get into that.
Like right there.
Yeah, there.
It'll be
click here.
Right there, or no, down there probably. It's probably down there. Just click underneath. It's the
Hell
link
yeah.
is right there.
Let's do it.
But yeah, so that, and I usually do a full Christmas tour every year, and it's usually called the All I Want for Christmas is Whiskey Tour. This year it's a smaller, truncated version of that, but it's my.
I had whiskey in there. I fed him seltzers. I feel really bad.
The night is young.
Yeah, that's true. He's got a point.
This is good.
Awesome.
I love that. Well,
thank you so
yeah,
much.
and then I play here around the Twin Cities a few times a year. So
sick.
I'll be around. Check it out.
Well, we're gonna take you back. Appleton, they can, have you and buy you drinks and stuff. But we're taking you back. We're claiming you as our own. You are Minneapolis, dude. You're ours. We're putting you under the Welcome to Minneapolis sign.
I'm in.
And yeah, I can't wait to see you. And I so appreciate being a part of this and watching the sunset with me.
I love this. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Absolutely.
Cheers.